Yeah, just you're gonna have to ask him if the sound and everything's good. Okay. If it drops, they gotta let us know. Yeah, I need to put out this link too. This gonna be on point.
My man Dex is back on with a Rogue Money. He had been gone for some time.
Come back from his winter retreat.
Yeah, I guess he been chillaxing. It seems like the sound is good.
That's what we want.
Okay, my brother Monagon said it's all good, man.
Yeah, the brother said it's all good.
Mm-hmm.
Let me see if I can peep. Okay, yeah, I'm peeping it. Yeah.
All right. Bet. Shoot. All right, man. Shalom, Makiam. Shalom, man. First off, I want to give all praise and glory to Yahweh, Bashem, Yahushua. I'm sending double honors. I'm sorry, Bashem, Rakwar Kodash. I'm sending double honors to the apostles and elders and the apostles of GreatMillStone. I want to send peace, love, and salutations to you. I came out there pushing this word in sincerity and truth. Man, I'm getting that feedback, so it's throwing me a little bit off. Okay. Today's algorithm is just going to be a complete. We want to.
Saying there's an echo.
Is there an echo? Maybe I need to unhook my headphones.
What, from out your? From out your phone?
Yeah, no, from out my laptop.
Okay,
let's try that.
Have you turned the sound off?
Let me see.
You're gonna have to turn the sound off on the computer, and then just have the sound coming through your phone, probably through your earphones. Probably is the best.
Okay, kind. Let's see if this is better. So I don't know. Is that better?
I can hear it myself when I'm talking.
Oh, okay. My bad. Yeah. I didn't see that it wasn't muted here. Still.
Yeah, you should. If you plug the earphones into your phone, shouldn't be no feedback. Yeah, Salaki Arkel, man. Satan just messed up the whole mic situation.
So is that sound any better?
I can hear you back in the background. Like, I'm not supposed to be able to hear myself back.
Like almost.
Yeah, but where's my sound? You hearing me from?
Okay. Yeah, I'm hearing you from this laptop.
Powering
on. Yeah, you gotta turn that sound off and then hear me through the phone. Like turn the volume down on the computer and then just hear me through the phone.
Okay, it's gonna be hard for me to hear you through this phone.
Oh yeah? What even if you use the earphones?
Yeah, if I use the earphones, hopefully I have enough power on my phone. All right. Let's see.
So it should be all right.
Maybe say something. All right, I can hear you good.
Yeah, I don't think there's any feedback now.
Is that better?
Yeah.
Yeah, Akim, let me know if this is better right here. Cause we've been having some major issues. We done had to restart this damn live show about 5 times. So, and I know Yashawamba had issues yesterday. So I don't know what the deal is, man. But
hey, brother, say it's better. No echo. Wow.
Okay.
Well,
hopefully. Done, man. Hopefully this lasts for a little bit. Like I said, I don't have much power on my phone, so that's my only issue that I was kind of concerned with. But it is what it is, man. If I wanted to, I can give you my other phone number to call me on.
Can't.
If we have to, because you know I got 2 phones. Let's go. Yeah, just like I was saying, bro, this is going to be a whole complete overview. It's going to be a complete World War III algorithm update, and we're going to hit all the things that we like to talk about as far as geopolitical alliances, as far as geoeconomic wars, as far as just the complete theater of war, everything. When you read in the scriptures and you see these battles of empires, when you read throughout the book of Kings, throughout the book of Chronicles, when you read the book of Joshua, when you're going through the major and minor prophets and they telling the leaders of the nation of Israel and the house of Judah, look, this is what you need to be doing according to the Most High. When you read about those things in the scriptures, you need to have it in your head that there's a whole bunch of stuff that the Most High is producing to lead up to these battles and these wars and these outcomes that the Most High wants. It ain't just, oh, the Babylonians coming and then that's it. No, there's a whole bunch of things that the men of the Lord could see at that time and that the people of Israel were going through to show you the prophecies come alive, man. Yeah. And just like as those things was going on then, those same things are going on now. So we like to do these World War III algorithms to give Akim a complete scope, a kind of a bird's eye view scope of look at all these things that's happening on these different fronts all across the world that can clearly show us that World War III, the war of Armageddon, is being prepared. Okay, we like to go into the mark of the beast, but today we're not going to go into the mark of the beast today. We just going to focus on the theater of war. Now, the brother Wakari Kwam has listed out a few articles, a few videos to highlight some of the things that we're talking about. As usual, y'all know, Akim, y'all know I love this, man. I love to go over these things. So as we show y'all these different articles and go over these different clips, we're going to talk about them, break it down, look at maps, so we can all have a fuller understanding of what the hell is going on, okay? Along with that, we're going to pull out prophecies. If you brothers don't mind putting some of these prophecies onto the comment board, that way we can just read them straight off the comment board. Anything type of clip or article you see us reading, if you have corresponding precepts, please go ahead and just board. I'm going to try to keep my eyes on the comment board just to make sure that we're bringing out a full amount of edification. I'm gonna hand the floor over to you, Require Your Qualm. Let's go, champ.
Yeah, Khan. Yeah, I just wanted to add another thing what you said about the geopolitical. That's why when you go into secular history, you see there's always like just loads of stuff that happens leading up. Like the brother mentioned, Jeremiah, Isaiah. That was during the rise of the Babylonian Empire. The Babylonian Empire didn't just pop up overnight. Babylon was a city-state. When you go into the history, you had a series of city-states all over that area that was known as Chaldea, you know, Akkad being one of them. And these city-states, were always warring with each other for supremacy. And there was always alliances that would form. And it just so happened that the Babylonian Empire came about through all that madness, and Babylon rose to the top and had the supremacy. So there's a whole history and geopolitics surrounding the rise of the Babylonian Empire. But again, the Lord prophesied the Babylonian Empire and how they would conquer the different nations. So it's all relevant. What I want to do is focus in on prophecy. I want to just get Isaiah 41:21, because these algorithms that we do, it's all about giving glory to Yahweh Ba'asham Yahweh Shai and his only begotten son, Yahweh Shai, which is his word and his will. Okay, because they're the ones that are actioning these things that we're talking about. We're just breaking down what the Lord already laid down from the very beginning. Okay, so it is Isaiah 41:21. And this is what the Lord saith to these idols and these idolaters, the false prophets. It says, produce your cause, saith the Lord, saith Yahweh, strong reasons, saith the King of Jacob. So we implore these different leaders of these false philosophies and idols to bring forth their prophecies. Okay, Islam, bring out what you think is going to happen. You know, Egyptology, bring out what you think is going to happen. You know, all these Hinduism, bring out what you think is going to happen. Bring out your strong reasons. Okay, that's what the Lord wants. Okay, let them bring them forth and shew us what shall happen. Let them shew the former things. Yeah, tell us of the past, what they be, that we may consider them and know the latter end of them, or declare us things for to come. Shew the things that are to come hereafter. And that's the main thing what this algo is about. We're showing you what's to come hereafter based upon the spirit and power of Yahweh Ba'asham Yahweh Shai. Okay, that when these things come to pass, you're going to know that the true power is Yahweh Ba'asham Yahweh Shai, because ain't nobody bringing it out like we bringing it out. There's no book out there that's bringing out what we're bringing out. Point blank, period. All right, so there can be no confusion. Shew the things that are come hereafter, that we may know that ye are gods. Ye do good or do evil, that we may be dismayed and behold it together. Behold, ye are nothing, and your work of naught, and abomination is he that chooseth you. Okay, so basically what's going to happen in the end of the day is these prophecies that we're speaking in the name of Yahweh Ba'asham Yahweh Shai are going to come to pass. And the things that these idolaters and their idols are bringing forth, Islam, Catholicism, because that's idolatry too. Christianity, that's idolatry. That's a false way. God and Christ, that's false. Right? The things that they say are going to come to naught. And the things that the prophets of the Lord, the men of the Lord, beginning with the apostles and elders, are saying, which coming out of the scriptures, which is of the Lord, come to pass, the respect is going to go to the Father and the Son, and no respect is going to go to these idols, man. All right, so that's why we must bring out these prophecies. So when these things come to pass, nobody can't turn around and say, "Oh, no, you weren't teaching that." The whole world know that.
Can you call and read that scripture? Can you call that scripture again? The brothers are asking.
Oh, I'm in Isaiah 41:21-24. Yeah, and that whole scriptures is bad, man. That whole scripture is bad. And it's all surrounding the power of prophecy. So that's why it's important to prophesy, and it's important to say that we come in the name of Yahweh Ba'asham Yahweh Shai, purified when these things are made manifest. So I just wanted to bring that out to begin with, man, so the glory goes to the right place.
God, man, all the glory is to Yahweh Ba'asham Yahweh Shai. That's who's producing all these works in planet Earth, from us waking up to this knowledge, to every single action that you see playing out on the whole full worldwide spectrum. These things are being done to fulfill prophecy, and it's happening to a T, man, and it's beautiful to watch these things go down. The brother GMS Winnipeg Prophets put Isaiah 34:16, seek ye out of the book of the Lord and read, none of these shall fail, none shall want her mate, for my mouth it hath commanded, and his spirit hath gathered them, man. And so the Most High has his holy host, and he has the sons of God, the angels, out there working on the minds of men, sealing up the elect, sealing up the fate for the sons of men, and everything in between and around that, man. Okay, and it's beautiful. So, did you have another precept or anything that you want to bring out?
No. We can go forward. I just wanted to lay down that foundation right there.
Okay, a good one that I always like to bring out, the brother GMS Feed the Flock put Isaiah 48:3. I have declared the former things from the beginning, and they went forth out of my mouth and showed them. I did them suddenly, and they came to pass, because I knew that thou art obstinate, and thy neck is iron sinew, and thy brow brass. Okay, so the Most High, he's gonna force feed the whole plant his will, and it's gonna be a beautiful thing, man. It's going to be a beautiful thing. We wanted to start off by just starting with the geoeconomic spectrum, just because, as brothers know that follow us, we take brothers through the whole thing. We talk about how when you start seeing nations change trade alliances, when you start seeing them move money from one place to another, we know things change. You know, brothers like to watch that the TV show Power. You know, you got that TV show Power, where the dude, him and the lead character and Tommy, they run certain aspects of New York selling drugs and washing their money. And before things pop off, what do you see? You start seeing deals being made with how money is going to be moved. Okay? And so in like manner, I don't know why this thing is just holding like that. In like manner, you'll see those things happen. You know, in a geopolitical realm, out here in the news, man. So we're seeing China and the leaders with China. They're changing their trade routes. They're changing the currencies that they're using. The power that that the West has had with buying oil and selling certain goods, military weaponry, and how they're moved across the world. That power and that structure is changing, and it's changing rapidly, man. Okay. See, and one thing on YouTube, if brothers know how to delete a person or like block them real fast, let me know. Because now it used to say we could block people, but now it talks about hide user on this channel. I guess it's the same way as block. They're trying to be politically correct with blocking people.
Politically correct with blocking people.
Yeah. Well, anyway, I don't even know how you got here. But anyway, first thing we want to touch on is the One Belt, One Road system. So the brothers got a clip real quick. We talk about this One Belt, One Road system and its implication in the whole global market and how important it is, okay? Because when you rule the world, what is the main thing that you're ruling? Natural resources and how they're executed. When you read in the book of Genesis, the first chapter, it talks about, when you go down to the 26th verse of Genesis 1, dominion was given to Adam over all things that were created. All right. So when you're at the power seat, when you're the wisest man, so to speak, when you control how ideas and thought are centered, you have dominion. Currently, the Western world has the dominion over the world because they control traffic. They control for how the majority of natural resources are moved from one place to another. Okay. Did you have any points on that out?
I'll play I've got a few scriptures, but I'll play the video.
Okay. All right. So let me make sure brothers can see the video. Okay.
All right. I've got to share the screen, ain't I? So like, yeah.
Yes, sir.
It's the oldest overland trade route in the world, a network dating back to the 5th century BC, stretching from China through Central Asia to Europe's borders. The Silk Road transported everything from spices to gunpowder and, of course, silk between East and West. Now China's President Xi Jinping is bringing it into the 21st century under the name One Belt, One Road. Goodbye camels, hello trains, capable of transporting Chinese-made goods like laptops 12,000 kilometers to Germany. That's faster than shipping by sea. But maritime trade is also a big part of the One Belt, One Road, linking key ports in Asia, Europe, and Africa. While the maritime route already carries much of the world's cargo, its overland counterpart is much less developed and passes through some of the world's most remote regions. So the challenge for China and its partners: create a 21st century superhighway while reducing prohibitive import and export tariffs so that East and West can do more business with each other.
Yeah, that's it.
Boom. So when you're looking at this One Belt, One Road initiative that's being executed, you can see that there's a major flip getting ready to happen, bro. A major flip that's getting ready to happen between how people get certain goods and services. That means money is about to change hands in a different way that we understand. That creates war. Okay? That creates war. When those type of things happen, then you know, okay, Tommy and I can't even think of the dude's name that was in power. They not dealing with this dude, the Russians, no more. They're dealing with the the Mexicans. So there's a war that'll go down. Okay. Now, when you read in the book of Ezekiel, the 28th chapter, and you read verse 2, it says, "Son of man, say unto the prince of Tyrus, thus saith the Lord power, because thine heart is lifted up, and thou hast said, I am the Most High. I sit in the seat of the Most High in the midst of the seas, yet thou art a man, and not the Most High, though thou set thine heart as the heart of the Most High. Behold, thou art wiser than Daniel. There is no secret that they can hide from thee. With thy wisdom and with thine understanding thou hast gotten thee riches, and hast gotten gold and silver into thy treasures. By thy great wisdom and by thy traffic hast thou increased thy riches, and thine heart is lifted up because of thy riches." Okay, so now that's what you've seen come out of the West over the course of the last couple of centuries. They've been able to take over different regions, especially in the last seven or eight decades. They've been able to use NATO to infiltrate different places and take people down, man. Mm-hmm. Okay, still taking over all their natural resources and making them have to use their financial institutions in order to make money and trade. Okay, so by his wisdom and really by his might with the sword, he's been able to control traffic. And so now what we're seeing an opposition to that way. Mm-hmm. Or a seeming opposition. It seems like an opposition. A shift is happening. So verse 6 says, "Therefore, thus saith the Lord power, because thou hast set thine heart as the heart of the Most High. Behold, I will bring strangers upon thee, the terrible of the nations, and they shall draw their swords against the beauty of thy wisdom, and they shall defile thy brightness." Mm-hmm. Okay? And so we're seeing these other nations rise up and want to compete against the current system of traffic that we understand, that petrodollar system. Yeah. Did you have any points? You got a point out?
I got a couple points.
Let's go, champ.
Hey, it said set their heart as the heart of the Most High, because the Anglo-American Empire, which is America, they basically set out a foreign policy, and their foreign policy is that of the empire, where they decide what a nation's gonna do, what status that nation's gonna be, and they're trying to basically push that out there into the world, like they're prophesying that this is my will, and I'm gonna impose my will on the rest of the planet, and ain't nobody or nothing can get in the way of that, because basically they think they're the Most High, like they could just do what they want and nobody can't test them. There's no chance of anybody checking them. Now the whole economic thing that we're getting into right now is key, because the economy and military might go hand in hand with dominion. They work together, because as a nation, you need money to support your military. You need a money to keep your nation stable. If your nation economically falls apart, that weakens your military. Okay, That weakens your military. And I got a scripture here, Ecclesiastes 7:12. It says, for wisdom is a defense, and money is a defense. Okay, but the excellency of knowledge is that wisdom giveth life to them that have it. Yeah, money is a defense. Money can defend you, okay, in a lot of circumstances against your enemies by simply being able to outspend your enemies. And that will lead us beautifully into the petrodollar, because that was the key advantage that America had over Russia during the Cold War, the petrodollar. They were able to outspend Russia. Russia didn't have the resources necessary to keep up with America, which is why America spends more money on their military than all the other nations put together. It's because of that petrodollar, because they can print money out of thin air. Okay, so that's going to lead us into the reason why the loss of the petrodollar is so detrimental to America and their what's the word? Their integrity. Because the loss of the petrodollar is going to destroy the American economy, which makes them weak. Because they're going to lose that money as a defense. Yeah.
Let's go, champ.
I got it.
So
I just got another quick precept, because he was going into the trade thing as well. Another thing, what they do is they use the economy as a means of weakening the other nations. Again, go back to the Cold War. They committed an economic warfare against Russia. A good way to weaken a nation is to keep them poor. Right? And it tells you in Isaiah 14:12, it says, how art thou fallen from heaven, O Lucifer, son of the morning? How art thou cut down to the ground, which didst weaken the nations? One of the ways they weakened these nations was to economically keep them tied down. But now you see these nations are seeking economic freedom, which economic freedom helps you to grow in strength. Okay, so it's all linked up in the scriptures, man. But yeah, I just wanted to bring out them points leading us into the petrodollar.
Yeah, I mean, and you can see that, and a good example of that is when Trump was calling these smaller countries shithole nations. Well, how did they become shithole nations? How did Haiti, El Salvador, these African nations, how did they become shithole nations? Well, they were restricted within the markets, you know, by America. That's what happened.
Yeah.
You know? That's what happened.
And what happened? What happens when you do things like that? You cause instability within that nation. You cause that nation to divide against itself because they're all hungry. It's like a form of siege. You weaken them. You're starving them.
Trying to make sure my stream is going well. Damn, Satan, boy. Satan is just like,
yeah, I think the stream is cutting out a little bit, man.
Yeah, man. It's just like, what the fuck, man? Anyway, I want to move on to the next article on Russia and China to kneecap the petrodollar. I'm going to read this real quick, okay?
Come.
I'm going to read this article. And the article says here, cut this out right here, so I don't have to worry about that popping up. It says, this is on our RT News. It says, Russia and China to kneecap petrodollar in 2018, predicts Saxo Bank. All right, this was written on the 23rd of December. It says the world's largest crude oil importer, China, is likely to roll out the petro yuan next year, predicts Saxo Bank. Beijing's largest oil supplier, Russia, would gladly accept the yuan to phase out the dollar in trade with China. China is by far the world's largest oil importer, and many producer nations are already more than happy to transact in yuan terms. With the U.S. global power and reach waning, given the success of the CNY-based commodity futures in general, the Shanghai International Energy Exchange's decision to launch a yuan-based crude oil future is a runaway success, reads one of Saxo's outrageous predictions of 2018. Saxo Bank expects the Chinese yuan-denominated oil contract to be a move with tremendous geopolitical and financial consequences. World War III, okay?
Yeah.
The U.S., West Texas Intermediate, and European benchmark Brent have a joint daily turnover of more than 2 billion barrels, or 20 times the total daily world oil demand. However, the U.S. West Texas Intermediate Oil Standard is losing its role in the oil market. Note Saxo. China, meanwhile, has already become far and away the world's largest crude oil importer and many key exporters, led by Iran and Russia, are more than happy to transact in yuan terms. Saxo expects the Chinese oil contract to become a raging success, while the yuan is set to appreciate 10% against the dollar, taking the dollar-yuan exchange rate below 6 for the first time. Okay, so at the end of 2016, we saw China and the International Monetary Fund basically start to do more business with each other. The Chinese currency is called the yuan. That yuan got put into a basket to be accepted as a world tradable currency. Okay? And so in 2017, China, Russia, Iran, Venezuela, and a number of other nations began to make announcements that, look, this is what we're going to start doing. We're going to start getting outside of this dollar. Now, it's starting to be announced already at the beginning of this year. Since we're in the first quarter, it's beginning to be announced. All right, we're moving out. We're moving out from the petrodollar. This is what we're going to do.
Yep. And
okay. You got it out.
Yeah, I was just going to say, and we have to understand that there's no recourse then but war. If America cannot protect the petrodollar, that means America is going to implode. They have to, the war is the only recourse, because if the America implodes from the inside, there is no America. America's in that condition that without the petrodollar, it will implode into nothing more than chaos and death upon itself, which is easy pickings. They know this. That's why the war is inevitable. They just got to go to war.
That's right. That's right, champ.
You know?
And so us as the prophets, we're paying attention to these things, putting it up against what the scriptures say. And so we see these things compounded and coming together. Do you have the other article that was on the global research?
Yeah.
No? Or do you have a video? You have the video,
I got 2 videos, but we got a global research one as well.
Can you play the video out?
Which one?
You know what?
The Max
I
Kaiser?
have the global research article. The Max Kaiser.
Okay. Can't let me just get that. Pull that up. Oh yeah, I got it here already. All right. Let me share my screen. Just let me know if you want to stop it.
Okay.
By the host of RT's Kaiser Report, Max Kaiser. Max, good evening. Thanks for coming on. We're hearing there that China looks set then to challenge the petrodollar. Why does Beijing feel the need to do this?
Well, first of all, they're very brave to do this, because countries that have tried to exit the oil dollar matrix have met terrible ends. Of course, Saddam Hussein wanted to trade oil in euros. He was killed. You had Muammar Gaddafi wanted to trade his energy in something other than US dollars. He was killed. So the track record here is pretty dire. So kudos to China for taking this project on. And of course, they are rumored to be the big buyer in the Aramco offering of their state oil facilities coming down the pike. So this makes sense in a geopolitical sense in terms of you've got China and Russia and the Saudis are looking to escape the US dollar hegemony. They're looking to de-dollarize. That's a concept we see all over the world right now as countries want to escape from the U.S. military-industrial complex. These countries around the world are tired of funding America's military adventurism by being a party to the empire of debt as it's known around the world, the U.S. dollar, and they want to split off. They want their autonomy. If China wants autonomy, Russia wants autonomy, Iran wants autonomy. They don't want to be ruled over by the U.S. dollar anymore. So this gives them a way, this contract, futures contract based in yuan for oil, convertible into gold, means that these countries can finally, and it's been in place since the end of World War II, escape the Bretton Woods U.S. dollar hegemony, empire of debt, supremacy, world reserve currency that is the U.S. dollar, and we're in a new beginning, I think.
Is there anything then that the US can do about this? Because it's not going to be happy that it's going to lose the petrodollar. So how would you expect it to fight back?
Well, they're exactly right. They will fight back. They will start a war. You know, maybe they'll start a war between Japan and China. You know, maybe they'll start a war with North Korea. You know, America will do anything to keep the U.S. dollar as world reserve currency. They will invade a country like Afghanistan. They'll stop at nothing because this is the basis of the U.S. empire. It's not land-based.
Yeah, Connor.
I just want to make a point. He said they'll start a war between Japan and China, or Japan and North Korea. I mean, we see these false alerts happening with these missiles, so-called missile launches happening, because if you destabilize that South China Sea region, then certain oil contracts and trades are not going to be able to go down. It'll just disturb all types of traffic that's supposed to go through there. Why would you be trading with those guys when it's completely destabilized? You wouldn't. The value of their currency would drop. When you look at Iraq, and they started the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan, Iraq's currency is something called the Iraqi dinar. Before the war, before they took down Saddam Hussein, the Iraqi dinar, it took $3 just to get you one dinar, bro. So the Iraqi dollar, the Iraqi dinar was extremely powerful. Well, once that war started, they completely destabilized that region. The banks wasn't working, so the currency became essentially worthless. So that, you know what I mean, those type of things could keep the U.S. dollar at the forefront, so to speak. Okay. All right, I just want to make that point. Was there more?
Yeah, Connor.
It's not based on material goods. It's based on rent seeking. It's based on lending dollars, getting that income. And then when countries can't pay, they dismantle the assets and take them over. We saw in Latin America, South America. This is how America built its empire. The countries that are resistant to America's financial cartel are Russia, China, Iran. So now they figured out, you know what, we're going to split off from the dollar, and they can do so with this new contract. And they're embracing cryptocurrencies. Cryptocurrencies in this context is another way to de-dollarize, get out of the U.S. dollar. The U.S. dollar is being held up narrowly with the Pentagon's various actions around the world and a lot of market machinations from the central banks. But once the cat's out of the bag, you know, look for the dollar to have a very significant crash.
And among the countries you said might actually join China in this were Saudi Arabia. You said that just a couple of minutes ago. I mean, that might surprise a lot of people that they would be willing to go ahead with this.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So how could they be able to do this and simply switch out of the US dollar? Do you think it's that simple for them?
Well, it's not going to be simple, but there is definitely a motivation for the Saudi to, you know, they want to float Aramco, for example, because they need the money because they're deeply in debt and they're running out of cash, and they wanted to do an IPO of Aramco on either the London or the American exchange, but they were prevented from doing so from the legal actions of the 9/11 survivors, who rightly point to the Saudis as the cause of 9/11, the architects of 9/11, and they were allowed in America for those lawsuits to go forward. That's a pretty recent development. Only in the last year or so, lawsuits against Saudis for terrorism for 9/11 have been allowed to go forward. So now the Saudis are like, okay, if that's the way you feel, America, then we're going to take our business to China, Russia, Iran, you know. So there's a huge split between the Saudi and America right now. The petrodollar, which got started in 1970, 1971, that's coming to an end. The Saudis are doing all kinds of moves beyond just killing people on 9/11, which is pretty aggressive, I think.
Max,
they're doing a lot of other moves.
We could talk a lot longer about this. It's a fascinating.
Oh, yeah. Woo.
Yeah. It's going down, bro.
Ain't there a scripture about when thou cease to deal treacherously?
Yeah, they said I'll deal treacherously with thee.
Yeah, let me get
Let's
that.
see if I can.
Because a lot of these nations that are American allies at the moment, man, one by one, they're going to jump ship. And America's going to find themselves more and more alone. And in the end, they are going to be alone. In that final hour, they're going to be alone. How the hell do you spell treacherously, man? I'm terrible.
Yeah, I know. That's what I was going to try to do there. And I was like, hell no. Isaiah 33:1.
Wow.
Google. Help.
Wow. Get that Algo helping out there.
Bless. I got it. Isaiah 33:1.
Yeah.
It says, woe to thee that spoilest, and thou was not spoiled.
Oh, that's what Max Kaiser was just talking about. About how they spoiled South America. Again, not only did the Edomites come over and mess up them nations, but then America came in after and double messed it up. But they did all kind of madness down there in the Americas, man. So they've been just spoiling up all the nations all over the world. Something that these Edomites in them, because the so-called Negro in America ain't been benefiting from the empire. Okay. All right. We got the statistics. Okay. The average Negro family in America has an average median wealth of, I believe, $8,000.
Yeah, trash.
Right. Actually, I think it's less than that. Let me see if I can pull it up real quick.
Yeah.
Because that's we got to make that point, man. Because they'll try to say, oh, so-called black people are American. No, they're not.
Yeah, the so-called black people and Latinos, they don't receive any of the benefits of this beast system. You know, the wealth that's passed around in this place, man.
Even though they think they do.
The credit from access to credit to just straight up dollars. You so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, you don't receive those benefits, and only to get a piece of those benefits, you gotta completely sell your soul, man.
Yeah.
Okay. Jake, me on here, we struggle. We try to find little passive ways of income, and you gotta hide in cracks just to get that. You know.
I'm trying to find the median actual household wealth statistic.
Okay, I'm gonna finish this scripture while you're looking for it. You know what I mean? It says, woe to thee that spoilest, and thou was not spoiled, and dealest treacherously, and they dealt not treacherously with thee. When thou shalt cease to spoil, thou shalt be spoiled. And when thou shalt make an end to deal treacherously, they shall deal treacherously with thee. And that's what we're seeing, man. We're seeing that these other nations are beginning to make backdoor deals, do what they need to do to get outside of the reach of this Western hegemon, man. And now you got Trump flying over there to Korea, flying over there to China, trying to make some more new trade deals, because we can see these emerging markets come to the forefront. Okay. And so those that know what's really going on, they know, man, it's about to go down. Okay? They know it's about to go down.
Check this out.
Able to find it out?
Yeah. You know what? They used to have it on a nice graph, but they've changed that article. Because I always used to bring that same article out. They've changed it. Because the number was actually lower. These numbers are revised numbers. So they're higher now.
Yeah, but you know,
but
that's still trash right there, though.
Yeah, it's for the average white family, the median net worth is $171,000 compared to $17,600 for so-called blacks and $20,700 for so-called Hispanics.
Yeah, all right, man, that's trash.
Pathetic.
You can't live off that shit, man.
Yeah. So America's not our empire, okay? For you so-called Negroes and Hispanics that think you got a piece of America, Yeah, that's your piece right there.
Think about it, bro. If you got a crib, if you got a house that's $1,000 a month, that's $12,000 a year. That leaves you with freaking, you know, what's that, $5,600 for everything else, man?
Yeah.
You add on a car note. You add on a car note that's $300, or let's say $400 a month. That's $4,800, bro.
Yeah.
You through?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Through.
And this reminds me of the parable of what, Lazarus, when there was a great gulf between the two.
Yep. Yep.
There's Esau and there's Jake. There's the big gulf. So where have you Negroes gotten in America, man? Right? You got Floyd Mayweather, but look where you at. Okay? Get your head out, get your head out your ass, man. America was never for you, man. You didn't enjoy the glory years of America. You was getting bit by dogs during the glory years of America. Your ass was getting thrown off the bus during the glory years of America, man. You was unemployed. Okay. But yeah, so hey, it says that was that. So they spoiled and dealers treacherously, and they dealt not treacherously with thee. When thou shalt cease to spoil, thou shalt be spoiled, and when thou shalt make an end to deal treacherously, they shall deal treacherously with thee. Because they're gonna seek after these allies to back them up. But these allies are gonna turn their back, man. Because they're gonna say to hell with you, because you've been fucking us over all these years.
God.
But you got it.
I just want to shoot this to you real quick. If this phone goes dead, I sent to you in the chat my other phone number.
Okay, come. All right. I got it.
So let's just hit that bad boy up. Well, I want to move on to the next corner topic. So we talked about the One Belt One Road, how the traffic is starting to change, and then we're talking about how currency wars that's happening. Okay, there's currency wars that's happening now as these different nations begin to make these different oil deals with China and Russia and Iran. The way that they're going to have to execute these deals is going to have to change. And so now this is why you see the emergence of cryptocurrency and smart contracts that are able to execute these oil deals and all these other trade deals, commodity deals, instead of having to go through what's known as the SWIFT banking system. Because currently, okay, let's say you did have a oil deal. Let's say you did have a oil deal, and you want to trade outside the dollar. Well, you still gonna have to go through their banks. So if they put a freeze on your bank, it don't matter that you got a new oil deal, bruh. And currently, the West controls pretty much how all these nations are able to move their money around. That's why Iran, that's why Russia, Venezuela, North Korea, if the U.S. and the West can stop their money from moving at the drop of a dime whenever they want to. They can just freeze their bank accounts. Okay? And so that's important. So now that's why you're starting to see them emerging with these different cryptocurrencies. Okay? Did you have a video on that? Let me see.
On the cryptocurrency?
No, you just had the it was just the let's read that real quick. Venezuelan joint. We'll read that. Okay. On oilprice.com, it says Venezuela to launch oil-backed petro cryptocurrency within days. This is on December 29th, 2017. Okay. It says Venezuela is getting ready to launch within days its own cryptocurrency, El Petro, which will be backed by more than 5.3 billion barrels of oil and support $267 billion worth of financial instruments. Venezuela's communications minister Jorge Rodriguez said on Thursday. Earlier this month, Venezuela's president Nicolas Maduro shocked both analysts who follow the country's flirting with default in the cryptocurrency community by announcing that Venezuela wanted to launch the petro cryptocurrency backed by oil diamonds and gold reserves to help the country to advance in issues of monetary sovereignty, to make financial transactions and overcome the financial blockade. Because right now, Venezuela's biggest oil companies, they have been shut down, not because nobody wants to buy it, but because they all their accounts have been frozen. It's forcing them to go bankrupt. And it's not because of socialism, not because they're idiots and they don't know what they're doing. No, it's because their accounts are literally frozen by the West. Okay, now the brother sent to me another article, and you brothers can go read this, with Russia having its own cryptocurrency, and then you also can type in China is doing the same thing as well. Okay, so this is why you're starting to see the emergence of blockchain. You're starting to see the emergence of all these different cryptocurrencies and how people are going to execute oil deals. Okay, who is this? Who is this? What we got? Another weirdo?
Yeah, he ain't saying nothing edifying, man.
Oh, damn loser. Okay. All right. So now, moving on. I wanted to get that one article that you sent that talked about infrastructure. All right. Now we're going through all these different points to show you, Akian, all these things matter as far as how the world functions and move around. So we talked about the petrodollar versus all these other currencies. We talked about trade routes changing. Now, we talk about oil. Why is oil so important? Oil is important because it is the engine of the market system as a whole. How do you get your wheat, your grain, your shoes, your wood, your coffee, your guns? How do you get those things to different parts of the planet? Shit, by oil. How does your industries and your manufacturing buildings run? How do you produce the energy that you need in order to be a top-notch nation? You need petroleum, oil. All the oil is used as the engine of these current industrial markets. Okay? So these pipeline deals that go from one nation to another, that's the infrastructure of how oil is moved, transported, and controlling those pipeline deals can control whether your country grows or stays stagnant. That's why we have the current wars that's going on in the Middle East. Why? Because the Middle East is the heartbeat of the planet. What does the heart do? The heart pumps blood to all the different extremities in your body, right? Well, coming out of the Middle East, that oil, that rich oil that's coming out of those areas, okay, that blood that they're extracting out of the earth, they take that blood and they go feed all these other nations. Does that make sense what I'm saying? Does it make sense what I'm saying?
Con.
Okay, so here's an article that says oil gas war over Syria in 4 maps. Okay, let's see. I want to read all of this. This was done back in 2016. It says Turkey's Anadolu news agency is providing remarkably clear and reliable diagrammatic descriptions of the current status of the U.S. and the fundamentalist Sunni versus Russia and Shia and non-fundamentalist Sunni sides in the current oil and gas war in the Middle East for control over territory in Syria, for construction of oil and gas pipelines through Syria, supplying fuel into the world's largest energy market, Europe. Okay? The bottomless pit. They need things imported. Okay? It says Russia is now the dominant supplier of both oil and gas, but its ally Iran is a Shiite gas powerhouse that wants to share the market there, and Russia has no objection. Now, we have a previous World War III algorithm that talks about Ishmael, and where we go into Sunni versus Shiite. Okay? The Sunni, for the most part, are allied with the West, and the Shia are allied with Russia and China. Okay? Now, we're starting to see those things change a little bit as Saudi Arabia begins to make oil deals with China. For the most part, just to keep yourself straight, the Sunni are with America and the Shia are with Russia and China. Okay? It says Qatar is a Sunni gas powerhouse and wants to become the main supplier of gas there. And Saudi Arabia is a Sunni oil powerhouse, which wants to become the major supplier of oil. But Saudi oil and Qatari gas would be pipelined through secular controlled Syria. And this is why the U.S. and its fundamentalist Sunni allies, the Sauds and the Qataris, are using Al-Qaeda and other jihadists to conquer enough of a strip through Syria so that the U.S. companies such as Halliburton will be able to safely place pipelines there to be marketed in Europe by U.S. firms such as Exxon. So the U.S. is using proxy armies called Al-Qaeda, ISIS. They're using ISIS to destabilize regions in Syria, so that they can use Halliburton, which they used in Iraq and Afghanistan. Halliburton is a company owned by Dick Cheney, or ran by, Dick Cheney is one of the top guys there. Those guys, basically, they come in, they have a secret army to protect it, and they're able to lay down infrastructure fast. So the Halliburton would be able to come and fly in, lay down all types of oil pipelines that will go from Qatar, probably through the state of Israel right now, up into Europe. Okay? Same thing with Saudi Arabia.
Can I make a quick point as well?
Absolutely.
And we have to remember as well that with America having the main control over that, that means they get to feed the beast. Because right now, the fact that one of the main ways that gas is being brought into Europe is through Russia is a point of weakness. So with them bringing in gas and oil through the Middle East and America being the head of that, they get to feed the beast and keep the beast under control. Keep them 10 horns under control, man. So that's just a quick point I just want to make.
Boom. Boom. Okay. So when we see these things, we see oil infrastructure, and this is why this war is kind of like nonstop, because they're all fighting over and trying to make up different reasons why they can invade these nations. Okay.
Yeah, they're brainstorming different reasons why they gotta blow some shit up.
Exactly, bro. Exactly. Man, this article go hard, bro.
Yeah.
Let me see.
Yeah, what we might do is just post the whole document that we got into the description box.
That's what I'll need to do, bro.
Yeah.
That's what I need, because this one is like, to me, is a must read, because it's got the map, so you can pay attention to what the hell is going on. There's another part I want to read. It says the second is about Egyptian governments trying to assist the Syrian government's defense against the Saudi U.S. Qatari invasion of Syria at Aleppo, where Syria's Al-Qaeda branch is trying to retain its current control over part of that large city, which they've been wiped out. See, this is back in 2016. Russia came in, that branch that was holding that, they've been wiped out. So the U.S. and the West have moved on to something else. That's why Iran is now being mentioned over and over again.
Hey, Al-Qaeda making videos like Tyrese.
Yeah.
Crying.
What more do you want from me?
Oh my God.
Oh my God. All right. My Shayla.
They hurt, man.
They hurt. Like Saudi, ISIS is hurt. Okay, it says the Saud family are punishing the Egyptian government for that, and they were very successful with punishing Egypt. Okay, skipping down, it says here is Russia's proposed gas pipeline, which would enable Russia to reduce its dependence upon Ukraine. That's why we saw the color revolutions in the Ukraine. Okay. It says, which we ain't even got time to bring all that up. It says, through which Russia currently pipes its gas into Europe. Obama conquered and took over Ukraine in February 2014 via his coup that overthrew the democratically elected neutralist Ukrainian president there. This right here is called the Turkish Stream Pipeline. Okay, Russia will come, bring this pipeline, go through the Black Sea, circumvent those areas, and they'll be able to pump natural gas into Europe like that. Okay, versus this region over here in Crimea, which go, you know. So all that's going on. That's the planned pipeline. It says, in addition, there is the following map from oilprice.com. Okay, you see Qatar, Turkey pipeline. This is the one that the U.S. won't, like that. But this is the Iraq, Syria pipeline, like that. That's why the war has been going on in this region so hot and heavy. This is why the state of Israel is trying to attack Lebanon. You see Lebanon right there? See how Damascus is in the center of this? You brothers can pull up the scripture on the Euphrates and Damascus. You can see that it's a centerpiece in them needing these regions to move oil, natural gas, to control currency, money, and everything like that. Rulership of the world. Big boy stuff.
Can I drop a quick prophecy?
Yeah, let's go, champ.
I just want to drop a quick prophecy, man. Isaiah 17:1. The burden of Damascus, behold, Damascus is taken away from being a city, and it shall be a ruinous heap. I want to bring that up. Perpetual war in this region, so they can control what's considered the blood of the earth, oil. Okay, that's why we're seeing this propaganda. This is the West Bank right here. They want to extend into Lebanon and say this is a terrorist nation. We need to take them out. And then if they're able to do that, that's a lot of control right there. Okay. All right. That's really all I wanted to bring on that. I mean, this is a good article, man. This is on ZeroHedge.com, you guys. It's called The Oil/Gas War Over Syria in 4 maps. Yep. Good stuff. Real good stuff. Okay? But for the sake of time, we're going to go ahead and move on to the next topic at hand. We talked about the One Belt, One Road. We talked about the death of the petrodollar. We talked about the emergence of cryptocurrencies to execute these oil contracts. We talked about the infrastructure of the oil deals being in the centerpiece of the Middle East, which links up with prophecy. All this stuff links up with prophecy, that these wars will be happening right here, this area of traffic. Okay. All right. Now, can I get a quick thing?
Oh yeah, bring it out.
I just wanted to bring out something real quick because it's interesting. We're talking about oil in the Middle East. I just wanted to show the Arkham that there's always been oil in the Middle East, man. When we go back to the book of Genesis, the 11th chapter, which they were located in the area known as Shinar, which we know to be Iraq, right? And it says here, Genesis 11:3, and they said one to another, go, let us make brick and burn them thoroughly. And they had brick for stone, and slime had they for mortar. Now, when you look up slime, it ain't talking about sign that's in your toilet, or that's on a lizard. It's actually talking about slime, pitch, asphalt, or bitumen, aka tar. It says bitumen, which boils up from subterranean fountains like oil or hot pitch in the vicinity of Babylon and also near the Dead Sea. So that region always had that oil. But the funny thing is, at that time, the oil wasn't utilized because the oil was mainly brought into being a major thing with the Industrial Revolution and the engine, you know, being used as energy to drive engine, which increases production and power. So hey, there was always oil in the Middle East, man. It's in the scriptures. Okay, even Moses, Moses's the Egyptian princess, not the Egypt, sorry, Moses's mother, she waterproofed the ark that she put him in tar, in slime. Okay, Exodus 2 and 3. So there's always been oil in that region, even in the scriptures, man. And I'm not sure where the Vale of Siddim is, but I'm sure that's over in that same region as well. And that speaks about slime pits.
Let's go, champ. Very good point.
The Vale of Siddim, you'll have to seek to the Bible scholars. Maybe they might know where that is. A valley where the Dead Sea is located. And that was known to have slime pits. Okay, which is pools of oil, basically, tar. Okay.
Man, that makes sense for Sodom and Gomorrah burning the way it burned too. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. So that just shows you there, the Lord already had it set up that region was rich in oil. And them Arabs were just living there. They didn't know, they just used the oil for what they used it for. It weren't until the Industrial Revolution, like, oh shit. And now look at them bastards driving around in Lamborghinis in London, just because where they live had hella oil.
Well, they learned how to refine that oil and maximize its potential. But it's hella detrimental to the planet Earth, man. You know?
Mm-hmm.
It's an unnatural way of producing energy.
Yep.
Okay, just because something has a seemingly good use for right now as an impulse doesn't mean its long-term use is going to be good.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep, that's right. That's right. I just wanted to bring that out because I thought it was interesting. You know that oil was all up in the scriptures from the very beginning, from the Tower of Babel, which was in Iraq. So, yeah.
Man, beautiful point.
Go on.
Okay, let's move to the next point. Let's go to the Cold War. How because of all of these things that's happening, we can see that these nations are preparing to battle. That's why you see record amounts of military drill. That's why you see increased militarization and capabilities at a record rate. It's never been like this before, man. Things have never been moving this fast as far as these nations spending so much money to prepare their armies. It's on a record rate, okay?
Mm-hmm.
All right, so let me see, bro. When you go to the independent.co.uk, it says Mikhail Gorbachev warns of new Cold War with U.S.-Russia arms race in full swing. This was written April of 2017. You know, look at him. He looked like he ready to go to war. Let me see, make sure y'all brothers can see what I'm looking at. This dude look like he ready to blow something up, man. Drink some baby's blood right afterwards. It says Mikhail Gorbachev has warned that the world could be heading for a new Cold War as tensions between Russia and the West continue to mount. The 86-year-old former Soviet leader, who was awarded a Nobel Peace Prize for his role in the Union's dissolution, accused the U.S. and its allies of moving away from peace agreements on nuclear weapons and other central issues. The language of the politicians and the top-level military personnel is becoming increasingly militant. He told the newspaper, the relationship between the big powers continues to worsen. This increases the impression that the world is preparing for a war. So all the indications of a Cold War are there. Asked whether the situation could turn hot, Mr. Gorbachev cautioned that anything is possible if we just keep watching, sit back and do nothing. And the Most High is going to work on the minds of men to make this thing happen. It don't matter if you want to stop it, okay? Mm-hmm. The Soviet Union's last leader, who has made several public warnings over rising tensions since last year, said that an arms race between Russia and the U.S. was already in full swing, citing the deployment of NATO troops in Eastern Europe. Gorbachev said he shared Donald Trump's formerly stated view of the alliance as obsolete, calling for a political instead of military union to help improve relations and further peace. Large-scale military, yeah, right.
Yeah.
It says large-scale military exercises have seen Russia and NATO troops, tanks, and weapons stationed even closer in neighboring countries amid disquiet over the Kremlin's intervention in the Ukrainian war. Gorbachev dismissed fears over Russian military deployments in Crimea and eastern Ukraine as propaganda and said he trusted Vladimir Putin while admitting that Russia was only halfway to democracy. Okay? So if you don't mind playing a couple of those clips you got.
Yeah, because it's a foregone conclusion, man. I just wanted to get a quick scripture. Revelations 11:14. It says, the second woe is past, and behold, the third woe cometh quickly. Now, the Third World War is basically between America and Russia. Yeah, they've already been fighting since 2 years after, I think it's 2 years after World War II. That's when the Cold War began. And a whole series of wars broke out across the planet, all based upon the Cold War. Vietnam, all over South America, there was all kind of wars. And most of the wars in the latter half of the 21st century were all between America and Russia. Facts. So they've really already been at war, but never directly. That's the final act. When they go toe to toe directly. Even now they're at war, but not directly. It's proxy wars. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, you want me to get those vids? Let me get them.
Absolutely.
Give me a second. Okay, this one. And we always bring out that, you know, drills ain't for no reason, man. A boxer don't go in the gym and do drills for no reason. When you see a boxer in a training camp for 6 weeks, it ain't because he's going to a wedding.
And just before you get bring that out, I'm gonna go ahead and read Ezekiel 38. You know, Ezekiel 38:2, the Son of Man, set thy face against Gog in the land of Magog, the chief priests of Meshech and Tubal, and prophesy against them, and say, behold, I am against thee, O Gog, the chief prince of Meshech and Tubal, and I will turn thee back and put hooks in thy jaws, and I will bring thee forth and all thine army, horses and horsemen, all of them clothed with all sorts of armor, even a great company with bucklers and shields, all of them handling swords. Persia, Ethiopia, and Libya with them, all of them with shield and helmet. Gomer and all his bands, the house of Ptolemon, and of the north quarters, and all of his bands, and many people with thee. Be thou prepared and prepare for thyself, thou and all thy company that is assembled unto thee, and be thou a guard unto them. After many days thou shalt be visited. In the latter years thou shalt come into the land that is brought back forth from the sword, and is gathered out of many people, against the mountains of Israel, and against which have been always waste, but is brought forth out of the nations, and they shall dwell safely, all of them. Okay, thou shalt ascend and come like a storm. Thou shalt be like a cloud to cover the land, thou and all thy bands, and many people with thee. Thus saith the Lord power, it shall come to pass that at the same time shall things come into thy mind, and thou shalt think an evil thought. Okay, and that's that ultimate evil thought is going to be using these massive weapons of destruction, man, these ICBM missiles. Okay, but all the nations are being gathered right now, as we were showing you in this article. They're all being gathered. All these things are happening. And when you read the scriptures, things wasn't just 2 weeks. Things took a process of years. It even transitioned from one king, and then you'll be reading another chapter, and it'll be talking about a whole other king. So sometimes things will take decades to fully manifest into what the Heavenly Father wants. You gone?
Yeah.
All right.
Oh.
Okay. All right. Let's go, champ. So I'm gonna let you play this video.
Yeah, I've been playing it, bro. You can keep talking, man.
Oh, you've been playing the whole time?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah. All of these things are happening to bring forth this prophecy and to bring life into it, man. Okay? Things are getting ready to pop off. And it's gonna be epic.
Mm-hmm.
All right? Now the brothers, the GMS Vegas sit down, he posted Isaiah 13:17. Behold, I will stir up the Medes against them, which shall not regard silver, and as for gold, they shall not delight in it. All right, because everything is going to be culminating to just ultimate warfare. That's going to be that evil thought, man. It's going to go down, and these other nations are going to join in. And you're going to see the 10 horns hate the whore. You're going to see people switching sides. Things are going to move quickly, man. Whenever World War II popped off, it was things being talked about. Then all of a sudden, all it took was one action, and it was on. From that point forward, in a matter of a month, things were blazing. Okay? But you had reading up before that time, there was a lot of things happening, man. Okay? So when you keep reading, when you read Joel, the brother posted it because I was going to pull that, so I might as well read it. Joel 3, chapter 3, verse 9 and 10, proclaim ye this among the Gentiles, prepare war. Wake up the mighty men. Let all the men of war draw near. Let them come up. Beat your plowshares into swords and your pruning hooks into spears. Let the weak say, I am strong. Mm-hmm. Okay? And that's what we're seeing. Yep. That's what we're seeing, man. We're seeing these nations build themselves up in order for to have this final fight, man. And that's when the underdogs, the nation of Israel, the true nation of Israel, will be caught up out of this hellhole. Mm-hmm. With Yahushua and be prepared for the kingdom on the planet Earth. Okay? And
I can actually say, I was going to say, you can actually statistically look up that precept. Statistically, I think it was either going into the 60s to the 70s. That's when you started seeing these nations that had no tanks, nothing. All of a sudden, they started buying tanks, buying equipment from America and Russia, in the Middle East especially. A lot of these nations you see now that have, like India, Pakistan, they never had no military before. This is a thing that's happened in the last 30 years, where they just started spending money, buying fighter jets, buying this, buying that. This is statistics. You can literally go and see that unfold in the last 30 to 40 years. You know, the weak saying I'm strong. You know, Pakistan having nuclear weapons, India having nuclear weapons. These countries were nothing. Remember when the British had them under control, they were controlling them with a few men. You know? So that's all part of the deal, man.
Yep. And you know, it's a big part of it just because that's how they was able to finalize a lot of these oil contracts with Saudi Arabia and a lot of those oil-rich nations. They was like, okay, well, if you do your oil deals with us, we'll give you some of this this weaponry that we've been developing this whole time. We'll let you in on it. And so Russia and the U.S. were using their advanced military capabilities in order to execute petroleum and natural gas deals. Okay, and that's how the weak was able to beat the plowshares and the pruning hooks into swords and spears.
So man, this dude Putin ain't playing, bro. The name Putin means the way of rulership, man. This guy is dead serious, man. He ain't trying to make no deals, man. He ain't trying to make no deals.
That's right.
He coming with that Russian iron fist, man. He's coming, man. He's coming. He ain't trying to bow down no more. He ain't looking for friends.
Yeah, he ain't looking for no buddies. All right.
Imperialism.
Get straight. He's looking for to set his nation what he feels like is his patriotic way to set it right. Okay. I got about 5% left on my phone.
I just wanted to get another scripture.
No, it's all good, bro. You can just call me on the other ones once this one goes dead.
I just wanted to get this scripture just to bring it back to Yahweh Hashem Yahushai. Job 12:16. It says, with him is strength and wisdom. The deceived and the deceiver are his. He leadeth counselors away spoiled and maketh the judges fools. like these advisors, these consultants, you know, these military strategists. They've always existed. They've always existed. And they've always advised kings. But guess what? The Lord is the one that controls their minds. So they're coming up with these strategies, and like people are like, yeah, let's do this. And them same strategies they come up with lead them away spoiled. Because the Lord is in control. So if the Lord wants you to go down, you're going to go down, man. It says, he looseth the bond of kings and girdeth their loins with a girdle. He leadeth princes away spoiled and overthroweth the mighty. Now, what does the Most High actually come down on earth, you know, with a chain in his hand, man, and start leading? No. All the geopolitical events that have happened throughout the whole course of history, the rise of empires, the fall of empires, the rise of city-states, the fall of Troy, no matter what you want to pinpoint in history, at the end of the day, whether it was a rise or a fall, or all the intricate details you can put into why it happened and how it happened, the Lord had his hand in it. Everything we're bringing out is all the Lord's work. He leadeth princes away spoiled and overthroweth the mighty. Just like America is the mighty right now. As a single nation, they are the strongest nation on the planet Earth, without a doubt. As a single nation, they got shit. You know what I'm saying? They got that big gun, right? But the Lord is still going to have them be overthrown, right? He removeth away the speech of the trusty and taketh away the understanding of the aged. All these guys like Powell and them guys are all old school Vietnam guys. Colin Powell, them guys have been at war since forever. So them dudes are all seasoned men when it comes to war. Petraeus, what, he's the head of the CIA now? That dude's he's an aged man. Okay, but the Lord is going to take away all their understanding, man. He poureth contempt upon princes and weakeneth the strength of the mighty. And we're seeing America being weakened, not only through their allies, but also through their economy. It's that, like we've been bringing out, that's all through the Lord. Okay, a lot of their military equipment is what's it called? Is what's the word again? When it's compromised because they're using Chinese chips. That information came out. A lot of the American technology was sold on the black market to the Chinese. It shows how corrupt America is.
Yep.
Some of their technology doesn't even work. That's how corrupt America is. Like the Patriot missile system. That shit never worked. But that was a big racket.
If you don't mind, can you go ahead and play the destabilization of Iran next, and then call my other phone, because this one's about to
okay,
go
Con. Okay, we can leave that precept there. But that's a bad, that whole scripture's bad.
No. Bring out whatever you want to bring out. Okay. I just want to just let you know, just before my phone goes there, where my mind is at.
Con. It says, he poureth contempt on princes and weakeneth the strength of the mighty. Hell, even my phone's about to die. Oh no, I'm cool. He discovereth the deep things out of darkness and bringeth out to light the shadow of death. He increaseth the nations and destroyeth them. He enlargeth the nations and straighteneth them again. He taketh away the heart of the chief of the people of the earth and causeth them to wander in the wilderness where there is no way. They grope in the dark without light, and he maketh them to stagger like a drunken man. And ultimately, that's the position that America is going to find itself in. It's going to find itself in a position like, fuck. You know what I'm saying? Like, how did this happen? You know? We had it all. We had it all. I used to have it all. But now. But yeah, let me get that. That's a bad scripture, man. So the Lord is doing all this, man. Algo, baby. You wanted the propaganda video?
Yeah, but just because, just like you're saying, the Most High setting it up, and it don't matter, you know, as the U.S. and the West are trying to control the discussion, so to speak. They're trying to control the narrative of what's going on, but the Most High's got it set in these nations' minds on how he wants it to go. So their propaganda that they pushing on all these other nations it's not working, you know. But they're trying to do it to justify their enterprise or their craft, you know. So we're seeing that play out too, you know. It's very interesting.
I'll play the video and then do you want me to phone you?
Come.
Yeah, come. All right, give me a second. Oh man. Where we at? Where they at? Oh man. Oh shit, where's the number? Oh man. Salaki, I can play the video now to get this number. Oh man, Salaki, the sound of my speaker turned off.
Powering on.
Opening commentary on what is going on in Iran right now was written 162 years ago. In his book on the French Revolution, Alexis de Tocqueville explained, revolutions are not always brought about by a gradual decline from bad to worse. Nations that have endured patiently and almost unconsciously the most overwhelming oppression often burst into rebellion against the yoke the moment it begins to grow lighter. The regime which is destroyed by a revolution is almost always an improvement on its immediate predecessor, and experience teaches that the most critical moment for bad governments is the one which witnesses their first steps toward reform. Why are these protests taking place in Iran today and not in, say, North Korea? This is the question Tocqueville answers for us. The deeply antagonistic relationship between Washington and Tehran makes it easy to forget that Iran today is actually more open than many other countries in the Middle East. Compare the status of women and minorities in Saudi Arabia and Iran, and you will find there's really no comparison. Over the past 2 decades, Iran has consistently elected presidents who are opposed by the hardline establishment of that country. In 1997, it elected Mohammad Khatami, who is now under virtual house arrest. Then came Mahmoud Ahmadinejad, whose radical rhetoric and manner masked the fact that he was a rank outsider to the mullahocracy that had run Iran since 1979. Ahmadinejad was a street-smart politician with no theological credentials and was thus deemed a threat to the clerics' hold on power. Today, it has another reformist president, Hassan Rouhani, who has been twice elected, the second time with a thumping majority. Iran's hardline establishment has actively sought to undermine Rouhani's reform agenda. In fact, some serious observers of the country speculate that the protests have been engineered by the hardliners, who will then use them to justify a crackdown and total end to reform. Of the French regime, Tocqueville wrote, the abuses with which the French government was charged were not new, but the light in which they were viewed was. More crying faults had existed in the financial department at an earlier period, but since then changes had taken place both in government and in society, which made them more keenly felt than before. Similarly, the Iranian economy has always been a dysfunctional mess, a toxic mixture of protectionism, socialism, and corruption. But in recent years, people have had their hopes raised by the promises of reformers, the expectation that sanctions would be lifted, and the knowledge of life outside Iran. In fact, the protests were triggered by a series of economic reforms. Ian Bremmer's smart 2006 book, The J-Curve, argued that some countries are stable because they are closed, North Korea and Belarus, for example, while others are stable because they are open, like the United States and Japan. The former shield themselves from the winds of globalization. The latter are flexible and resilient enough to adapt to these forces. The most difficult period is when a country is moving from being closed to being open. If the regime is enlightened and strategic, it might be able to reform enough to weather this rocky transition. But there are two other more likely paths. The chaos produces a return to repression or a collapse of the state. Iran has the ingredients for a revolution. Over half the population is under 30. Large numbers of its youth are educated, yet unemployed. Almost 50 million Iranians have smartphones with which they can learn about the world. And reformers have consistently raised expectations, but never been able to deliver on their promises. But the regime also has instruments of power, ideology, repression, and patronage, all of which it is ready to wield to stay in control. What appears most likely for Iran is a period of instability in an already volatile Middle East.
Yeah, Akim, this is all covert operations.
Joining us now is the White House senior policy advisor.
This is nothing more than the American attempt to destabilize the major military alliance which is forming in the Middle East between Iran, Syria, Hezbollah, and Russia, which is overcoming the balance of power which America and Israel have had the supremacy over in these last years. Very fast, the Israelis are becoming basically outgunned and outmanned in the Middle East. Okay, so what they're trying to do is they're trying to destabilize Iran to weaken them. All right, that's basically what you see going on. It's oh man, I need to see if this thing's gonna work. Yeah, you could say something, see if it works. You there? See, I bet you it's not working because you put the earphones in. Oh man, technicals. Yeah, so you got this. I got an article here. I'll read that while the arc you're trying to get some battery power or something. Let me read this article. So what's going on there, man? It's all smoke and mirrors being played out, and it's all leading up to that World War III. Yeah, I can hear you up.
Ask the brothers and see if this is causing too much feedback.
Hey, brothers, is this causing feedback when you hear the elder Ariana speaking on the comment board? It sounds all right, to be honest, because usually I can hear feedback usually, but
all right, well, we're gonna keep it rocking, bro.
yeah.
This is a complete overview, man, for brothers that's just kind of joined on now. This is a complete theater of war overview. We taking you through the whole geopolitical, geoeconomic spectrum of the Most High's World War III algorithm, and we're backing it up with the scriptures and the prophecies, and we showing you how it's going down, man, point by point, and how the Most High is using these nations to ferment war. Okay, now like I said, I keep going back because this is how I learned. You know what I mean? So I can only teach in a way that the Most High is given to me. And same thing with the brother Require Quam here. I like to read. I like to go over points over and over and over again, and then continue to build. But I like to go back to the original points that we were making. Okay. Now, I'm gonna switch the screen real quick.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna switch the screen real quick just to kind of go back over things. When you look, the brother sent me a list of articles, a list of videos to kind of go through. The hell, say boy.
Oh, I'll stop sharing, bro.
No, you good. You can keep sharing.
Oh, okay. So okay, I thought you wanted to share.
No, you keep sharing, man. Keep sharing. My stuff just kind of cut off. I gotta pull it back up. It's all good. It's all good. It's all good. We'll get it.
Yeah, you probably should see on the screen the Russian, Iranian, Hezbollah military triangle. They have a defense pact, and Syria is also included in this. And this is a major issue for the Israelis, because Russia is feeding Iran, Hezbollah, and Syria military capability to fight against the Israeli Air Force, which is the major, except for the nuclear weapons, which Russia is a nuclear power and they're now present in the Middle East. So that trumps Israel. Except for that, the main thing that Israelis had over these other nations was air power. But thanks to them S-300s and them S-400s, that advantage that the Israelis had is disappearing by the second. And that's also making the Israelis very edgy. Yeah, it's making them very edgy because they're not used to having their dominance in the Middle East challenged. And that's exactly what's happening with the Russian, Iranian, Hezbollah, and the Syrian coalition. And they're flexing their muscles in Syria as we speak. Russia invaded the Middle East, man. Right on the doorstep of Israel. Trust me, that's got these guys shaky. And so they're doing what they got to do to destabilize this alliance. So they're attacking Iran now through covert means. All right.
That's right, champ. That's right. That's right. So all of these things are coming together to provide a perfect theater of war, man. World War III, the Third World War. Okay. All of these things are coming together to foment the war of Armageddon, man, in the Valley of Jehoshaphat, which we were showing all you brothers that in these different articles. So now I'm back in the game.
Hey, and the Cuds force is them Persian immortals, man. That's them Persian immortals back in the reincarnation, man. They're gonna get.
So you played the propaganda on Iran, right?
Yeah, I did. I played that clip.
All right, so we talk about that. We get the scripture in Second Ezra's, was the 15th or the 16th chapter, where it talks about those Armenians. Talks about the Armenians coming forth with great wrath. They're going to be stirred up, and that goes into the least shall draw them out. Like you were saying, the state of Israel is used to having that dominance military-wise over in the Middle East. But now that we read, just like we read in Ezekiel the 38th chapter, Russia has come to the defense of Persia, Ethiopia, Libya, and all these other nations. So now they have the proper weaponry to fight back. So as the Israelis began to have to move more quickly in order to establish this, what's called the Greater Israel Project. All right, I know most brothers know about this. Some brothers may not. I'm gonna put it into the comment board. Put it into the comment board. Look this up. Go into it. We also have a World War III algorithm called the least shall draw them out. All right, and it's got a couple of parts to it. Well, one of those parts we go into the Greater Israel Project and how they want to expand in that region. Okay, you mind reading that scripture you got pulled up for me out?
Well, yeah, I got it here. This is 2 Ezra 15 and 28. Behold, an horrible vision, and the appearance thereof from the east, where the nations of the dragons of Arabia shall come out with many chariots, and the multitude of them shall be carried as the wind upon the earth, that all they which hear them may fear and tremble. Also the Carmanians, raging in wrath, shall go forth as the wild boars of the wood, and with great power shall they come and join battle with them, and shall waste a portion of the land of the Assyrians. And then shall the dragons that have the upper hand, remembering their nature, and if they shall turn themselves, conspiring together in great power to persecute them.
Yeah, man, them Ishmaelites, man. They're gonna all link up, be powered up in that whole region, and they're gonna remember their nature, which is prophesied in the book of Genesis, where it says that he's like a wild boar. Okay, he's a wild man. I mean,
yeah, wild man.
He's a wild man. He's warned against himself, warned against everybody around him. So, like we keep saying those scriptures that talk about Damascus being a desolation, the battle over here in the Euphrates. This whole region right here is a hotbed of activity, and we can see it rapidly escalating into World War III. Okay? This is not a conspiracy theory. This is prophecy fact. If there's an Israelite group and they ain't talking about this, the spirit ain't dealt with them, man. This is what's coming. All right? This is why we need to take the scriptures and the spirit of this ministry more seriously, man. You ain't gonna just be chilling, eat Oreos all goddamn day, man. All right? All of these things are popping off, and it's serious business. The leader, man, you gotta have a king mentality. This is what Kings is talking about. They ain't talking about what's on goddamn BET. Kings of the earth are talking about serious stuff. What's that? Where that shit come from? What we doing over there? Is our men trained up? This is with the prophets were the counselors to kings and nobles. They wasn't sitting around playing PlayStation all goddamn day. Okay? So this is what we into, man. Royal mentality. Not no low level. Oh man, I can't understand it. No, you supposed to be counseling kings and nobles, man. Most High expects you to be on a high level. All right. Now we talked about that. We talked about propaganda destabilization. That's why you got these color revolutions, and that's why you have a new civil war trying to be stirred up in Iran. All right, and that's why the state of Israel, the least shall draw them out, is trying to escalate it more expediently. Okay, because meanwhile, what does the prophecy say about the 10 horns? The 10 horns shall hate the whore. So we pulled this up. We got the one belt, one road, traffic, the movement of currency, the movement of commodities, money, people. That's changing. The system of the medium of transaction. Right now, the world uses the dollar. That's power. That's power. When you got to come to me to get something, that's power. The medium of transaction is changing. Currency wars, trade world wars, currency wars. We're seeing the death of the petrodollar. All right. So not only is the trade route changing, not only is the currency that's being used changing, the system of finalizing it, stamping it, and saying that it's approved is changing. Cryptocurrencies, blockchain. Okay? That's what's coming. They're using those systems to execute big trade deals. The infrastructure of energy, how to move energy is changing. Pipeline deals. Talked about that. Because all of this is happening, all these nations are building up a military, getting ready to fight. Talked about that. Now we're seeing geopolitical alliances shift because all these things, these nations, these kings of these nations are seeing what's happening. So what do we have happening? The Brexit, arguments within the Eurozone. Because what we talked about, we said these pipeline deals, where is this oil supposed to flow to? It's supposed to flow to Europe. Europe is the #1 consumer of the natural gas in these oil deals, right? Because these 10 horn nations that had power, one power with the beast, they've been positioned all across the world. Okay? Great Britain and the UK is not just simply a little island. Great Britain is functioning in many different nations. BP oil is functioning out of India, is functioning out of the South America, big, large gold mines in Brazil. All right. Same thing with France. Same thing with Germany. Same thing with Spain and Italy. They have power 1 hour with the beast all over across the world. They run the complete structure of the world. So we see geopolitical alliances rapidly changing. Now, the whole Brexit, I want Aquari Kwame to kind of talk about this just to highlight a little bit of some of those things. Like I said, these are something that we always go into on the different World War III algorithms. So we're not, this is an overview. But if you want to get extremely specific about it, I have 3 series on geopolitical alliances and the ramifications in the Eurozone, and examples of how the 10 horns shall hate the whore. Okay. Let me see. Which was the article that you liked best? Was it the one of the Independent, or was it the Gatestone Institute?
The Independent is a good breakdown of what's going on with the Brexit, because basically we are at the point where we know that like half the UK population wanted to leave Europe. There's a large amount of Europe that doesn't want to be in the euro, but we know the powers that be, they want a euro. They want a European one nation. So what they've done is they allowed the Brexit to pass, but now it's like they're setting up a Brexit without a Brexit. It's like they're talking about hard Brexit and soft Brexits now. And you know, they're talking about, well, they're going to be a Brexit, but all the EU laws are still going to apply in England and all this crap. It's a bunch of different confusion, and we'll see what it comes out to at the end of it. More than likely, it's just going to be some watered down version of what people actually voted for. But yeah, I mean, you brothers can look at it. You got the hard Brexit. It says, favored by ardent Brexiteers, a hard Brexit arrangement would likely see the UK give up full access to the single market and full access of the customs union along with the EU. The arrangement would prioritize giving Britain full control over its borders, making new trade deals and applying laws within its own territory. Initially, this would mean the UK would likely fall back on the World Trade Organization rules for trade with its former EU partners. And then, you know, so they speak about that. But then you got the soft Brexit. This approach would leave the UK's relationship with the EU as close as possible to the existing arrangements and is preferred by the many remainers. The UK would no longer be a member of the EU and would not have a seat on the European Council. It would lose its MEPs and its European Commissioner, but it would keep unfettered access to the European single market. Goods and services would be traded with the remaining EU states on a tariff-free basis, and financial firms would keep their passporting rights to sell services and operate branches in the EU. Britain would remain within the EU customs union, meaning the experts would not be subject to border checks, blah, blah, blah. I mean, it's just, they're trying to water it down to what it was meant to be. So we'll see where they go with that. But I can tell you for one that this guy, Trump, the average person doesn't like him. The average person in the UK don't like Trump. Period. And I personally heard people at work speaking about the event that happened where Trump was pushing his way through the European politicians. A lot of people saw that and they didn't like that, you know. And that's why the scriptures speak about him whose look was more stout than his fellows. But this whole Brexit thing is all part of the destabilization of Europe. It is causing a lot of confusion over here in the UK, and a lot of you know, a lot of beef, I should say, in these different parties, even between people in the same party, man. It's crazy. But I'm leaning more towards, if they do it, it's going to be a soft exit, and they're going to water the whole shit down to something that, you know, vaguely represents a Brexit. But we'll see how it goes. But it's all heading towards a destabilization anyway. It's playing its part.
You know. So all of these things, man, matter. All these things play their part in the grand chessboard, in the whole theater. All right, we've seen bigger pieces. More recently, we're seeing bigger pieces of the chessboard being moved. All right, leading into the year of prophecy, this year, 2018. We're looking to a possibly very explosive year, literally explosive year. Okay, you know, I'm looking at this list of things. I don't know. Do you want to touch on these things? Do you think we kind of covered it?
Briefly, I'll just mention the situation over there in the South China Sea. Basically, the Pacific theater is heating up, which that's a major theater in World War III. That's a major theater in World War III, and you can see there's more military buildup in the Korean Peninsula. Russia's building up their military in that region now too. China's building up their military. So that's a theater. So we always got to remember that World War III is not just going to be fought in the Middle East. It's a world war. The Middle East is just the epicenter, just like an earthquake. An earthquake has an epicenter, the center of it, but it echoes outward. World War I was fought mainly in Europe. That was the epicenter. World War II was fought mainly in Europe, but guess what? There was war in the Atlantic, war in the Pacific, and war in Africa. Well, World War III ain't gonna be no different, man. Pursuing to Isaiah 34, man. All these nations' armies are gonna be involved. So when you see all these things happening over there in South Korea, right? There's tons of news. Russian military deploys Marines on North Korea's border because they know what time it is. They know that North Korea is a venue for American troops to invade China and Russia. They know what it's all about. Okay, so you gotta keep we gotta keep an eye on that too. That as we see that building up, we know the war is close as well. They're gonna use this latest thing in Hawaii to build up more military over there. You know, that's how it goes. But that's pretty much it. You know, Isaiah 34 is a good scripture to read. You know, Isaiah 2nd Ezra, the 16th chapter, you know, is a good scripture to read. We're in that time where this war is coming to a head. But first and foremost, the elect need to be sealed. That's why this ministry is of utmost importance, man. Unlike a lot of these other guys, to them the ministry is not important. What's more important is anti-GreatMillStone. Okay, but the most important thing is spreading the truth of Yahweh Shai and spreading this ministry through the four corners of the earth, because the end ain't gonna come until the elect is sealed. So we can finish on that. What's that? Revelation 7. Is that 7?
Revelation 7.
Yeah, it says Revelation 7:1, and after these things I saw 4 angels standing on the 4 corners of the earth, holding the 4 winds of the earth, that the wind should not blow on the earth, nor on the sea, nor on any tree. And I saw another angel ascending from the east, having the seal of the living God, and he cried with a loud voice to the 4 angels, to whom it was given to hurt the earth and the sea, saying, hurt not the earth, neither the sea, nor the trees. All right, because this is going, hey, look, man, this World War III, look, understand this. There has never been a time on earth where man has possessed weapons of this level, magnitude of destruction. I'm talking about cities. A lot of these people out here don't realize what World War III will mean for the city they live in. You're talking about missiles, man, that will take your block out. Yeah, if you don't believe me, go on YouTube and look up what happened in, was it Aleppo? You look at the wide angle of Aleppo. Them buildings look like cheese, like Swiss cheese. Yeah, rubble and holes in them buildings, man, where people used to live, and then people had to run somewhere else. Now, when it's a world war, where you gonna run to? When the city next to you is getting hit with missiles, getting blown up. This is a serious thing. We're talking about chemical weapons. We're talking about biological weapons. You're talking about submarines, satellite. Look, man, this thing is gonna cause a lot of death and destruction, man. It's not no joke. It's a serious thing, man. People have been too used in the West to watching war on TV, so they don't know the reality of war where they are. But they're gonna find out what it's like when you don't know whether the next bomb is gonna hit your house. You know, when you feel that shell shock, that shell fear. It's saying, hurt not the earth, neither the sea, nor the trees, till we have sealed the servants of God in their foreheads. Because that's all who matters, man. And I heard the number of them which was sealed, and they were sealed 144,000 of all the tribes of the children of Israel. Okay, and that's the leaders. And then when you jump down, you got the rest of the believers, which represent the 1/3 that are going to follow those men.
That's right.
Okay, and it's that simple. But in order for that to go down, the scriptures say this gospel must be preached in the 4 corners of the earth. So we got to continue with this ministry, Ark, and we got to continue. As hurt as you may be, you're going to be hurt. We all hurt. Okay. The most important thing is keeping the faith in Yahweh Shai and preaching this gospel, preaching this ministry, man. That's our part in this algorithm.
That's right.
Okay, our part ain't guns and bombs. Our part is preaching the word. Okay. But yeah, that's all I wanted to say.
Yeah, man. You know, that's beautiful, man. That basically brings everything, you know, brings everything home, man. And as these all these things begin to shift, man, it's directly linked with us going out there preaching His word, man. So don't discount the value of the ministry and the value of these prophecies being spoken out there on the highways and byways, being spoken in the form of these digital epistles, these sit downs that we do online. This is extremely valuable. This is the vibration and the energy that the Most High wants pushed out there. This message, He wants it to go out there before it happens. So being every single brother, every single man that's waking up and being sealed by this wisdom, they're extremely valuable, man. And we're very rare. Lord willing, we all of that fold, man. We're rare, like finding gold out there. Okay? So this body that's being established, and he's telling you that the angels are being commissioned to go out there and seal the elect, man. So there's spirits out here protecting us or awakening the men. There's spirits out there using us to come and speak this message. Everything is tied together, so to speak, okay? So, you know, I don't have anything else. Did you have anything else?
No, kind of. We're good.
Hey, man, you know, Lord willing, this was edifying. Lord willing, yeah, you know, your Akim that out here on the board, beautiful scriptures that y'all put up, man, points. You know, if you read through these the comment board, the brothers was putting all types of amazing points. The brother out of Vegas, he made the point about how Germany is to add Chinese yuan to the currency reserve, which is, you know, which is a big move, man. All right, that's a shift in alliance. Okay, it's not a small move; it's a big move. So all these things are coming together for the purposes of the will of Yahweh Shem Yahushua. So with that, man, we want to give all praise and glory to Yahweh Shem Yahushua. By Hashem Rakakadash, we want to send double honors to the apostles and the elders who taught us, man, who grew up through the Spirit, man. We want to send peace, love, and salutation to all you Akim out there pushing this word in sincerity and truth. Amen. Keep on fighting, man. Shalom.
Shalom, Akim.